So we're here today with Bill Guthrie. Bill, welcome.
Hey Mike, how are you? Good to see you again.
Good to see you again. Why don't you, for people that don't know about your product creation history, can you tell us a little bit about some of the products you've created and some of the success that you've had?
Sure. I've been creating products since March of 2011 was when I released my first WSO. Since then, I've gone on to release, I don't know, over a dozen, easily either by myself or with a partner. I've partnered a couple of times, and then have released internal products to my list that never made it onto out into the public.
Hmm.
And as I've gone along, my products really try to, in some way, I try to fit the needs of my existing customers with the hopes that there are plenty more of those kind of people out there. And so far, I've had quite a bit of success with that.
Sure. Okay. So you've launched over a dozen products. You've approximately how much in sales do you think you've done in gross sales?
I actually looked the other day because I put it on a JV page, and since March of 2011, I think the number was around 400,000
Nice.
in gross.
Cool, cool. Okay, so you definitely have had your experience with launching products.
Which, yeah, and by the way, when I told my wife that, I was like, by the way, I just wanted to let you know, I've really done 400,000 in gross. She goes, "Where's the money?" Which we'll get to that here, I think, in our discussion today about where that money goes and
Definitely.
how to get people to promote for you and things like that.
Cool, cool. Okay, so with the whole product launching process, there's things like getting JVs, sales pages, getting swipes made, images, all that jazz, and which we've covered kind of in our previous interviews. I think you're number 7 in a series of 10. So I just want to kind of get your take on anything specific that you really think is essential when doing a product launch. Anything that you maybe made a mistake with, or you didn't include one time and it really messed up a launch, or something that you did that really helped out a launch.
Well, I think that the one of the best problems that you can have is when you get a lot of sales and you have a technical problem,
Mm-hmm.
because that means you're getting a lot of sales,
Sure.
right? And I think that we'd rather overcome a lot of sales and some of the logistical issues that fall in, um, than to have no sales and not have that problem at all. If that makes some sense. Um, when I look at product launches, and we're not going to discuss creation necessarily, we have to assume that whatever you're creating and offering out there is highly relevant
Mm-hmm.
to a particular audience, and that what you're offering solves some problem. And the next thing that I do is very seriously work on the sales copy. And I see a lot of people who are launching for the first time, and their sales copy really struggles. I think that in a lot of ways, when we're creating products that are one problem, one solution, there's a great fear of giving the solution away on the sales page. So our sales copy becomes what we call blind copy, which is you're saying, "Oh, this amazing thing can happen and it'll revolutionize your life and you'll be living on the beach forever." But I can't tell you what it is, what it's about, or anything. And that people really have a problem with that. The more products that are launched, the more people that are out there doing it, they're more discerning as buyers. And I think you've got to be very clear about a promise in your sales copy, about the benefits of, really of what problem you're solving,
Mm-hmm.
what the benefits of having that problem being solved are, and then the features that you're talking about. And even if it's a 15-page PDF, you have all those things. And I think a lot of times people who are doing their own sales copy, which I recommend at least once to do
Hmm.
it, I think they struggle with it. They struggle with being able to openly identify what their offer is. And I think in some ways it's because once they start to put what it is on paper, they go, oh, it's not, I don't really have much here. And I think that it kind of can create some self-doubt, but that's a whole other issue. But I really recommend people trying to at least work through the big chunks of their sales copy, because ultimately, and I know I'm kind of running on here, ultimately, in my opinion, if the people listening to this are WSO, FSO, if they're selling to internet marketers, bad copy will hurt everything, but a really low price can overcome bad copy. And conversely, really good copy can overcome nearly anything. So copy, the more I launch, the more copy is so essential to me. So the JVs and this and this and this they're very important, obviously, but great copy, I mean, that's what marketing is all about, and that's what being able to sell a product is all about.
It sounds almost like everyone, you always hear content is king, but it almost sounds like you're saying copy's king.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you talk to, some of the most famous people in our industry are copywriters, and you might think that, oh, they're product creators or whatever, but they really understand copywriting. They really, really understand emotional hooks, how to empathize with an audience, how to, really present their problem back to them in a way that's meaningful. And I mean, obviously, copywriting is its own thing. We don't want to get stuck on there.
Sure.
But I mean, that's where I spend, right after I'm finished, or sometimes I'll take a break from product creation and really, really start to work on my sales copy, because I want to create promises, and then I may have to go back to my product and say, my product right now doesn't fulfill that promise. I need to fulfill that promise, if that makes some sense.
It does. And what I'm doing now is I've heard different people have given different advice on copy. Some people have said, write it yourself. Some people have said, spend the most money you can on it. Some people have said, spend as much as you can, like $300, $400, depending on what your product you're launching. What I've kind of felt from speaking to all these people is that what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to write my copy. Like you said, I'm going to write what I think this product's copy is going to be, and I'm going to pay a copywriter to take what I've written and destroy it and rewrite it. Because I think whatever you do, whether it's paying a copywriter or giving it to your wife or your friend or whatever, and get another pair of eyes on it, and someone maybe that doesn't know anything about what the product's about, because you're going to find out. They're going to ask you questions, and they're going to notice things that you're going to think is obvious, or you're not even going to notice.
Yeah, and I agree, and we'll talk about this probably, but there's what's so great right now in our industry on the launching side of things is that there are a lot of different groups on Facebook, and where you can really get some support and get some feedback, and so that you're not completely isolated. You can test out headlines with people and things like that. So however you want to do it. I've done it both ways, and ultimately I tend to work in a bit of a bubble just myself. So that and I feel like I know good copy. I mean, writing is a strength of mine. And at this point, I have kind of a template. And sometimes I intentionally disregard the template and write in a very conversational way where I'm really just, I'm not using all of the structure of a great sales letter. And then other times, I absolutely go through this structure. So and you can, and you could just Google great sales letters, and there's plenty of wonderful examples out there. And frankly, a good place for people is to go into identify successful launches, identify successful products, and start to look at some of those sales letters. It brings up the whole notion of graphics and what your page needs to look like and things like that. And that's something else. So I've done that both ways. I do find that when I pay to have like my entire page to be created. So let's say you're working in the forums
Yeah.
and to have the whole thing rendered into PNG files, they perform better
Interesting.
than just the old standard, just using the text and all that. Now I started in that place with just using the crappy formatting of the forum, um, and I kind of saw a change where these people who were doing these big launches, they were doing these graphics, and so yeah, I'd spent 300-500 bucks on graphics. But I mean, that's money that you can get back really quickly if you can get enough traffic over there to your offer.
Yeah,
So I mean,
if you've got enough people promoting.
that's right, and I mean that's the other thing.
Tell me about a launch of yours, that just something that comes to mind, one of your more successful launches, and why you think it was successful.
The when my launches go big, and by big I mean they hit over 2,000, say, front end units. Um, I don't do a lot of software, so it's hard for me to break 100,000. Um, Software, a lot of good software launches can break over 100,000. I mean, for information, for tactical stuff like that, it's hard. So, I mean, success for me is putting a week into product creation, a week into getting everything together, launching it, and netting $20,000. That feels like a good couple
Yeah,
of weeks
that's
work, right?
that's pretty good. I'm sure your wife is happy.
Yeah, right. She likes that. So in those cases, what I did was I looked ahead and I circled a day on the calendar and I committed to it. And typically 2 weeks away from when like from where I am today, or whenever I thought it might be ready or something. So I don't have to have everything done. And I'll tell you, I have literally, when you do that and you circle it and then you go out to the JV calendars and you let people know and you do some JV recruitment, which would be trying to connect with people, in Facebook, on Skype, I guess in I hate when people send me private messages in the Warrior Forum because I just don't like that communication system. But when you do that and commit to it and say, I'm launching now, here's my links, go get approved, and you're doing that, dude, you've got to make it happen. And I have literally on one of my, I think my very best launch, I was uploading. I was working all through the night and was uploading the file 5 minutes before the launch.
That's not fun. I mean, that sounds really stressful.
But see, that's the thing about entrepreneurism, is that if you don't watch it, you can get away from having to do work, And so it was like cramming for a test, I felt like I was back in college again. Like I'd stayed up playing, back then I was playing Nintendo all
Uh-huh.
night, and then I realized, oh, I've got a test in 4 hours. Let's read the book. So that I don't recommend that. It's awful. But the point is, you give yourself time, certain day on the calendar. Typically, what you want to do is there are a couple of great places. Munch Eye runs a calendar. I run a calendar called jvlaunchcalendar.com. There's some Facebook groups where it's totally appropriate and desired that you let people know, and it's a good way to identify. And ideally, what you want to do is go far enough out that there is not a lot of launches.
Okay.
The last thing you want to do is launch on a day where, at least when you're picking it, there's 10 other launches. It's just, there's too much competition just in the marketplace on a day like that. Um, and then you've got an opportunity to give yourself plenty of time to start communicating with everyone that you want to talk to.
And it gets the ball rolling, which is something that a lot of us, even myself, and this is the whole reason why we're even speaking today, is that I've been procrastinating about putting out my own products, and I keep finding excuses, just little excuses, about why I'm not launching. And I put it off and put it off and put it off. And I think I was saying back in maybe February, like, okay, I'm going to launch a product. Next month I'll launch a product. Next month I'll launch.
No, I remember that conversation where the last time we spoke, you were talking about that,
And it
and
still hasn't happened.
and here's the well, it's happening.
Mm.
It is happening right now. Here's the thing to remember about this, because the chances are that, and this is just to anyone listening, the chances of you creating a product that's going to sell 2,000 copies the very first time is very, very low.
Yeah.
It's just low. You have to measure success. And what you want to make sure that you're doing is thinking about everything when you're in launch mode and you are creating and launching products for profit. You have to think about the idea of it's like compounded interest and it's leverage. So if your first one you sell 200 copies, that's 200 people on a buyer's list that you do something with. That is, hopefully, if you've set your stuff up right, that's a number of JVs that have, or affiliates, they're not JVs really, but I mean, they're affiliates who have opted in to your affiliate communications. The next time you launch, you have 200 people that know your stuff. You've got affiliates who hopefully profited by promoting you, and it makes it that much easier. So I just launched something. So talk about breaking the rules. I just launched something this past Monday. I worked on it all the prior week, just had my nose, down, working, did everything, put everything together, didn't seek any outside help, did crappy graphics, like the ugliest graphics you can think of, in the most janky way. And I launched when I was ready. And I let my list know about it. Basically, the morning that I launched, I let my JVs know about it the morning that I launched. So I broke all the rules, but the reason why I can do stuff like that, and look, I could have made a lot more money if I had stopped and said, hey, I want to do it then, but I'm a crazy guy sometimes, and I feel like I'm just giving birth. I'm like, ugh, get out, like, go, and I really, sometimes I just don't care. Not everything has to be this huge deal. Like, I feel like, if I'm a novelist, this was a short story. And I'm just going to release my short stories when I want to. But my novels have big things, right? So anyway, but because I've got a list and JVs and things like that, I can get away with that. I mean, I think I internally sold 300 copies of this thing.
But you've got a huge list.
Right, and that's what I mean. Obviously, I couldn't do that today. So your first few times out, you've got to toe the line, kind of play by the rules, make sure everyone knows, give yourself plenty of time, and but just looking down the line to say, you can absolutely leverage every one of your launches into a bigger one next time and a bigger one next time. So that I only gave that example as something that you can get to that point where all these other things that are so critical at the beginning, they're not quite as critical a little bit later on after you've achieved some success.
You mentioned about getting messages on the Warrior Forum and not really liking that, which brings up an interesting topic, because when I launch this product, I'm going to be messaging people that I've interviewed in the past, people that I have connections with, and I want to do it in a way so that I'm not annoying about it. And I don't want to message you, like, for example, let's say I message you, Bill, and I was like, hey, Bill, I'm going to be putting out this product. Here's a review copy. If you're interested in promoting it,
sure.
That's great. How can I do that in a way where you're not going to go, oh, the Mike just wants something from me. He's like, you know what I mean? Like, I think there's a right way and a wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, well, for you in particular, which is you're not indicative of your audience, but you and I are connected on Skype. So if you ever send me a message on the Warrior Forum, I'm going to go, dude, why are you not Skyping me?
Yeah.
Because I prefer Skype. And obviously, even though my
But I might not know that.
Yeah, well, now you do. I look at it like this and say, the Warrior Forum and the messaging systems on a forum in my opinion, they're the furthest degree away from a connection.
Okay.
If we're connected on Facebook, we're a little bit closer connected because Facebook, I mean, I've got nearly 2,000 friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
I don't know hardly any of them, and I'll accept practically any friend request. I don't care because at some point, if I want to say something, give me an audience,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I don't care about that. But Skype becomes closer for me, and the
Same
Skype
here.
more right. It becomes a little bit more connected. I mean, this is where I will do, I'll get on audio and talk to people. I'll carry on lengthy conversations in text via Skype, and so that's ideal. But I mean, for a lot of people, they don't have that. What I would say is this: it's like anything else. If you're going to do sales or marketing of anything, you start with identifying your ideal audience. So if you're releasing something that is about product creation, my recommendation would be to do some research on everyone who has released something in product creation in the last year. If it's a plugin that's related to, SEO, you need to go find the people who've released something that's related to it. That is your first target audience. Then you're going to have the big fish regardless, right? I mean, just guys who consistently when they release something, they put up a lot of numbers. You're probably on their, you've bought something, so you're on their list. You see their promotions and things like that. I'm kind of saying a lot of stuff here, but I recommend also opting in to
Hmm.
these lists because you want to see things like JV leaderboards. You want to see who's doing really, really well. And the great thing is you can opt into all these lists. You go over to Muncheye, go to our calendar, JV launch calendar, and just opt in. And then you can see who's launching, what they're launching, and what their swipe copy is, if they're doing bonuses, their whole structure. You get to see all these JV pages. So I really, really, recommend that. And again, you get to see these leaderboards. So I've been hit up. I don't mean to say it like that. I've been contacted a lot over the last 2 years
Hmm.
because there's times when I do really, really well in a promotion, and people see that
Yeah.
and they communicate to me, "Hey, I saw that you really crushed, Johnny's launch. I think this would be perfect for you." And that's helpful. They kind of set the whole thing in context a little bit for me. And then, at the end of the day, I think that you could be a logical kind of fear, or I mean, that's a little strong, but a concern about, like kind of pushing in on someone's private space.
Hmm.
It's going to happen. And the best thing to do is to have a concise script
Yeah.
about what you want to say about your product. Give as many details as possible. Don't ask someone, "Hey, would you like a review copy?"
Give them a
Give
review copy.
copy. Like there's little things like that. And you really want to make everything as easy as possible for your affiliates so that they just go, that looks great, And especially, I would say, again, I'm throwing out a laundry list. I would say as well that going back to that thing with the sales copy, once you get your sales copy ready, I would have it in some kind of a review status. Because one of the big things for me when I'm approached by either first time product creators or people who haven't done a lot of product creation is I worry about their copy.
Uh-huh.
I want to see the copy, frankly. And I have been known, because it's my nature, to absolutely give opinions. And I'll tell people, "Hey, look, I think this is great, but you have a big hole right here in your sales copy." I piss people off a lot of times because I'll kind of, I'll just give my opinion about, their copy or their sales funnel. And I mean, at least once a week, I'm kicking a hornet's nest when it comes to something like that. But I appreciate it when someone points that out in me because, like,
If it's constructive criticism, then it's fine.
I'm not insulting anyone, but if it's a funnel or again the copy or something like that. So you want to have as many of those things as possible. When you do, going back to what I said, you want to create your ideal list. You go like, man, if these are the people that I really want promoting because they own most of the leads, if you will, or because they just like it's completely relevant to something they've done in the past,
Hmm.
or 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 whatever.
Let me interject here. Sorry, sorry, if someone is trying to get in contact with you, which is like I think a lot of people maybe they don't know you yet, Bill. They find a way of getting to you. Maybe they try to get you on the Warrior Forum first, and you don't respond because you don't like it there. And then they finally find you via email by getting on your list. Maybe they get on your list and they respond back to your email, or they find where your Skype is. I think a good point that you made there is that when they do approach you, they send maybe that little bit of text saying what their whole thing is about, and then a link with something where you can immediately see the product. You don't have to ask for it. You see the product. You see the sales page, all that. So you can kind of, as a veteran in this, you can kind of take a look over, and without really going through the whole product, you can probably tell pretty quickly whether or not you're going to be promoting it.
Yes, exactly. You want to be able to concisely put a bow on your product. Again, people. I mean, you contacted me initially through the Warrior Forum,
Mm-hmm.
but it took 3 times over 6 months before I even, really kind of opened something up of yours. And it's because I just don't, I rarely go over there. When it comes to your launches, again, own a date, have everything together, and this kind of goes to these like JV pages and things like that. And again, the best way to do, because obviously, and we have a limited amount of time, and I can't show you anything here, is to get on, is to go to Munch Eye, go to our calendar, just start looking around on what's happening. Get on go to some of these pages.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are created in Optimized Press or InstaBuilder. I mean, it's not very hard. Put everything together, and then yeah, and then get your own version of that together for your launch. If you can't tell me, in a very quick amount of time, who you are, what your product is about, and what the benefit to an audience is, then I can't help you. And one other thing, and if you want to talk about this, a very important thing is commissions, commission structure.
Go for it.
So, number one, don't, because I've had this happen a lot. You're not doing me a favor by paying me a commission. So a lot of times people, this happens a lot when I get messages on the Warrior Forum. They'll say stuff like, and for you, I'm going to bump you up to 75% on this deal. And like they're doing me this massive favor of this commission structure, which is just crazy. I mean, there's just like you're gonna have to pay for traffic, and this is what the beauty of these kind of things. You're not having to really. It's no out of pocket.
Mm-hmm.
You're trading. You're trading money around.
You're trading time. You're pretty much trading time and creativity for
Yeah.
for it.
Exactly. Along these lines, there is you have to have a goal for why you're creating a product, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times people they want to serve too many masters on a product launch, so they say. I've literally asked this question to people. What do you want more? Leads? Like, do you want buyer leads so that you can go on and promote other stuff and, and do that compounded thing that we were talking about earlier? Or you want to make money? And they go, I really want both. Well, I say, well, it's you can't look at it that way. You're going to need to do one, and then typically one will take care of the other. So and my recommendation to folks just starting out is to do lead generation launches. It will literally catapult you very, very quickly. The best way to do that is to be radically generous with your commissions. Radically generous is 100% commissions. That would mean literally 100% commission on the front end and 100% commission on the back end. The people who crush stuff, who build lists incredibly quick, is that they go through the effort of putting together a good product, all the bells and whistles, all the swipe copy, everything that I need to make my life easier, and they're going to give me all the money. Sign me up, man. If it's not a piece of crap, if it's a good product and it makes sense for my list, and you showed me product A and product B, and one of them is giving me all the money and one of them is giving me some of the money, I mean, it's a really easy decision. And so that's why we're able still to see people who you've never heard of before sell 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 copies in a matter of a few days and have big names promoting them, it's because they're giving all the money away. Because in those kind of things, hell, it's like they created a product for me. Like when I get to keep all the money. That's hard for a lot of people because you could be paying for copy and for graphics and for any number of things. And you might say, well, shit, I've got, $1,500 wrapped up in this thing. And now you're telling me I can't make any money off of it. And I get that. And in those cases, what I would say is you just really want to think about it. And is what you're doing, is this a series of one-off events, or are you trying to kind of build a revenue stream? Because ultimately you can get that money back pretty shortly through promotions.
In your next launch, if you're doing this long term and you're really thinking about building a real business over the long term, then in your next launch, let's say you sell, I don't know, 300, 500 copies, whatever. And if you hadn't given away 100%, you might have sold 100 copies or 200 copies. So anyways, you're going to rapidly increase how many people are going to be promoting and how many affiliates you get. The next time you launch, all those people that came and bought, and okay, you didn't make any money that first time, but then the next time, all those commissions, in theory, are going to be yours.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll make some money if you're generating that kind of heat. And let's say it's on the forums, you'll get foot traffic, and that's uncookied traffic, so you'll get paid on that. So it's hard. I mean, I've counseled people on this, and it's a hard thing. They think that 50% is fair and that 75% commission is crazy, but that's the most they ever do. But I mean, if you look at some of the steamrollers, the guys who can really just crush it, at some point or another, they've given away everything to build that list. Chris Munch, as an example, over a year ago when he did his launch, this big, the kind of the one that supposedly set all these records, he was giving away 125% commissions. So you're not telling me there's value in building a list? I mean, there's a tremendous amount. He's basically saying, I'm going to pay you to give me as many of your leads as possible. You know what I mean? I will pay you above and beyond 100%. Yeah. I'm going to cut you money after the fact, regardless of leaderboard or whatever. You hit a number, I'm going to just pay you more. And it's because he understands that if I bring in a list, treat them respectfully, point them in the right direction, he can start making a lot of money. And when I got my first little seed list of 2,000 people off my first launch, when I started promoting, it was greater than anything else. It was the coolest thing ever. And when I would explain to my friends, okay, watch this. I'm gonna, okay, look, this. Hey, look, I just made $200 today. What'd you do? Send an email. Like that to me is some of the most amazing part of our business. And so if you think about it that way, you want to remove every reason for someone not to promote.
Yeah.
So really generous commissions will definitely get people's eyes, get them on those calendars, let everyone know. And that's a selling point. 100% commissions through the funnel. Everyone will wake up to that. It doesn't matter who you are or what your product is. It's something that stops traffic. I will look at it and make some decisions. I know, on the outside they may make, what are you, just trying to make money? Yes.
Of course you are.
Right, exactly, so, and I would say this, and I've gone on record, when it comes to JV Zoo's product of the day, Mike Lance's WSO of the day, there is a perception, and I'm speaking completely out of opinion. I know everybody at JV Zoo. I'm friends with Mike Lance, so I'm just speaking my own opinion. At the end of the day, there is a notion that what they're doing is that there's some kind of that these product of the day deals are some kind of quality control measure for the forums. Like, we've gone through all of today's launches, the one that we feel is truly the best. That's not the case. It's just not the case. It may have been the case when there was maybe 10 launches in a day, but when there's 50 launches in a day on various forums, it's not really it. No, ultimately, they have a reputation to uphold where they've got to promote something of value. It's got to have an audience. It's got to have all these logical things. They also have to promote something for the day. Have they ever missed a day? No. And ultimately, between A and B, they're gonna promote the thing where they think they can make the most money. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I've had massive arguments with people who think, oh, they're just out there they're just promoting crap. Well, just because they didn't promote your crap doesn't, it's not that it's all crap. It, and they're going to make business decisions based upon what they think is going to create profit for them. I do the same. You should do the same. Anyone listening should do the same. Where you protect yourself and your audience is by vetting it to the degree that you can. If you can get a review copy, that's great, or whatever. You flip that on the other side, look through my eyes, looking at your offer as something to promote, and it will probably help you to make different decisions. If you're going to, if you literally say, I'm going to create this product for an audience that makes sense, but really for my affiliates to make money, you're going to get a lot further in this business, especially if you're just getting started.
I'm really glad I got you on this interview today, because really I was thinking about, until today, I was thinking about, okay, I saw that Mark Thompson, the American Mark Thompson, was doing 60% on his launches throughout his funnel, and that was doing pretty well for him, and that's what he recommended doing when I spoke with him for affiliate commissions. I've heard other people say 75%. It's going to give you a little bit. It's also going to give a fair chunk out to affiliates as well. But if you're giving out 75% already, just bite the bullet. Just take it. And I think the advantage of the affiliates, like you said, that it's going to attract by putting out 100% is going to be worth it. Although I do recall, I don't remember who it is who said it, but someone said to me, if they see that someone's giving out 100% commissions, it puts off a red flag, as in maybe that person's just trying to, I think what they said, and is that person's just trying to take their leads, is what they said.
Well, of course they are.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what I thought, yeah.
Look, every time I promote something, those people are going to get my leads. It's, so, I mean, I don't disagree with whoever said that, and I probably know the person that you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, that's an obvious thing. And yes, it's a lead generation deal. What the buyer doesn't know the commission structure. Yeah. Now, they could go and find it out if they want or whatever, but they don't know. So they're not making their buying decisions based upon what the commission is.
Sure.
So whether you give me 100% or you give me 5%, if I'm sending traffic, my buyer's going to make a decision based upon the offer and the price, right? The benefits and all this kind of stuff. So the one thing to say on the idea of price and commission is it's a little bit like this. And Chris Munch, who's a buddy of mine, and I reference him because he's a very good launcher himself, he came out with something that said, look, if you really want to get people on board your launches, if you've got a price that's under $10, you better be giving away 100%, period. Yeah. Because it's just not worth it. If you're giving something that's $17, 100 probably still will be the right number. 75% is the minimum. If you're at 27, then you can start to play into, you can start to play around with 50 to 75% and all this kind of stuff. And it goes on and up and down the ladder based upon that. And I think he's right. Mark Thompson will say 60% because Mark is putting out a lot of software over the last 6 or 9 months. Software is inherently going to have a higher price tag. So he's got, so he's going to say, well, we've got a starting point. It's, we've got a single license at $17 and we've got a multi-site license at $27. So it's 60% through the whole thing, through the funnel. And that makes sense because he's going to have, because typically what you might do is you could say, well, I'll give you 100% on the front end and 50% on the back end.
I mean, there's that a lot.
Yeah, right. And that's very standard. And that's typically what I've done. I've never done a 100% funnel launch. I don't know if I'm ever going to do it because I'm, you
don't need to now. You've got your
I tend
list.
Not to need it, and and things like that, and at my maybe I will. I don't know. Maybe I'll have fun with that. But anyway, but 100%, 50% makes a good amount of sense. So it's not through the entire funnel, but it is on the front end. If your front end's going to convert high, your back end's going to convert high. Typically speaking, if you have a very standard price would be and something I do a lot would be to say, okay, starting price $695. We're going to dime sell it to $995. We're going to dime sell it slowly. So I kind of do the calculate. I've got a calculator for this, but I do the calculations and say I want the first 1,000 sales to be on the dime sale. I want them to see the trickle, because I promise you, as soon as it caps, your conversions will drop. People react to the dime sale, so you want the dime sale to go as long as possible. But you don't want the price per, like only 3 left, whatever the thing is. You don't want it to be, in my opinion, any more than 7. You don't want it to be like 9. You don't want it to be 37 left at this price. That sounds like, that sounds like there's too much quantity. Right. I mean, that's the funny thing, is that it's a quantity trick based upon pennies. So anyway, you do that, and typically speaking, you should get at least a 25% conversion on your back end. If you come in at a $695 to $995 front end and a $17 to $27 OTO or slash upsell, whatever you want to call it, you should get, if it's relevant, you should get 25% at least on your conversion. So start doing the math, you start literally calculating the math on that. If you get 50% away, that's still good money for your affiliates, and it's not huge. They haven't made a tremendous amount of money.
Sure.
It's easy money. They could probably make a few $100s for the promotion. And typically speaking, if you can make $300 for a day's work, I think a lot of people get satisfied with that. Like there's enough affiliates out there that would be like, dude, that's great, man. I hit my quota for the day. If I do $300 a day, it's $100,000 a year, and everything's gravy. So you kind of take that approach when it comes to the commissions.
I want to transfer into the second part of this, because I have a question for you that involves exactly what you're just talking about with the dime sale. Like I kind of mentioned to you before, the idea for this product will be that there'll be interviews with 10 expert product creators, and from those, I'm not selling the interviews. The interviews themselves are more of a bonus with the product, because I know that people aren't just going to sit down and want to watch 10 interviews all at once. What I'm going to do is use the interviews and take the information that I've gained from them to create sort of a cheat sheet or a master sheet of what the experts are doing now when launching.
Sure.
So that would be the front end product would be the interviews and the kind of the cheat sheet and the general all the nuggets that I've taken out from the interviews. So that would be front end. Back end would be a over the shoulder, watch me actually set up this whole product. Watch me do all the from the JVs, getting all the JVs to setting up the sales page, how much I spend on everything. So you can really get instead of having it be a theory, you actually see what happens there. So up to now, the front end, I was thinking doing it $17 for the front end and doing maybe $27 for the back end. I was thinking about doing a 60 to 75% commission. Now, after talking with you, I'm really considering pulling it up to 100 just to...
What's the front end again? Just say it real quick.
The front end is going to be more of like a cheat sheet of product launching.
Like you're gonna pull out
all the nuggets, pull out all the great stuff from...
You're going to pull it out and kind of create a report.
Yes, exactly.
So you want my honest opinion?
Exactly.
Do you want my honest opinion on this?
Yeah, of course.
You're pricing it too high.
Okay.
You are.
Or am I structuring the product incorrectly? Should the front end product be that over the shoulder and...
Absolutely. The one that I just did, I literally created my OTO in the night before. It took me 40 minutes to create it. Now, it's going to take you a little bit longer, and you're going to have to, either break yours into different videos or edit it into a single video or whatever, because you have components that you're talking about. I literally was able, on this one that I did, I'm teaching some Facebook methods, and I created a PDF. So information, printable PDF information. So what I just did and what you're talking about is really no different. It doesn't matter how much time you have into it.
Yeah.
So all these, that's the thing. PDF in the front, video supplement in the back, right? You say, hey, you've got everything you need already, but a lot of people, they want to see there's things that I talk about in this video that just organically come out, and you're going to get to see me walk through every single one of these steps. Then you have to remind them of what every single one of those steps are, right? I would say that you need to price this in no-brainer land, because when it comes to product creation stuff, everyone's curious, but very few people execute.
Okay.
So again, if I'm advising you, your price point on your front end is way too high.
What do
And
I do?
I would price it down like what I just did on my last one. I would price it at a no-brainer starting point that's under $9. I would cap it at something like $9.95. I'd give 75 to 100% commission. What you can do on this, because there are people that are silly and they don't pay attention to anything. I've done this a couple of different ways, is that if you're asking me,
Yeah.
hey, Bill, will you promote? And I go, Mike, I don't promote anything under $10 for at least 100% commission. Will you bump me? My guess is you're going to say, gladly, click, bump, and here's your 100% commission, because I could send you a lot of hops. So what you can do is that you can list it as a 75% commission, or, something like that. And then you could say on your JV page, hey, opt in for your bump code. And then so that when you issue your, so that when you request your, your affiliate link, put bump me Mike on there, and
Didn't that piss you off though? Did you mention before that you were pissed off when people?
Yeah,
were like,
I mean, look, everything runs in cycles, and at the end of the day, people are gonna. I mean, they're gonna do it, But yeah, I've had it both ways, and I think that there's. I see stuff all the time. See, ClickBank, like where the bigger products are released, they do that kind of stuff all the time. They don't give you any information because they know it's all open to the public. They're not going to give you any information without your email address, and so it doesn't matter. Hey, I got a great new launch coming out. Click, do here, opt in, and I'll tell you all about it. That happens a ton. And there's a lot of, what happens is one or two people will arrive at an opinion, and then they pontificate that opinion, and then it becomes kind of the trend. So there's a trend now that says, don't make me opt in, that's crap, blah, blah, blah. And, you might say, yeah, it's exactly right. And half the time I opt in, half the time I don't, or whatever, if you don't make me. But there's nothing that says you can't try it that way. Anyway,
I'll opt in for the bump though. And this is a whole other thing, I think, with getting the JVs and building that JV list, is that people are going to be much more likely to opt into your JV list if there's an advantage for them. And I look at a lot of JV pages, and I don't always opt in because I can usually get all the information I need without opting in to that JV list. But if I'm considering promoting something and I see someone say, okay, put in your email and I'll give you a bump from 75 to 100, of course I'm going to do it. Like, of course I'm going to take that extra money.
Right. I mean, and you just want to be really obvious about it. Another thing would be swipes. So I'll give you, I have ready-made swipe emails for you to use.
Yeah.
Opt in to get them. I have ready-made bonuses for you. Opt in to get them, and things like that. I mean, it's like anything else. It's an ethical bribe. So, but your first few times out, you need to, don't forget about trying to build that affiliate, that affiliate relationship and your affiliate list. And, it's important, And then ultimately, you want to communicate with those people. I make sure that they know how to get in touch with you, and do your best to know how to get in touch with them. And if that means finding them on Facebook, so let's say this: if I opt into your list and you don't know who I am, but you got my first name or whatever, you're able to figure out who I am. Try to connect with me in some way. It's really helpful. And I'm not great at this. I know other people who are much better at this, but it's really a relationship. When you're a product creator, you're, aside from the product creation, which you could outsource every single bit of it if you wanted, you're in the relationship business, right? The affiliate's job is to send traffic. The product creator's job is to cultivate relationships with their affiliates and things like that. That means I spend time like this talking to people about their products and what's coming up, and I spend time talking about my products with them and things like that. I want people to, want to promote me and vice versa. And you can see there's definitely there are people who always promote one another, and it's a cool club to be in when, in that side of things. But basically, back to the thing, man, I would, and this is kind of what I'm saying. It's hard. You might want to go, well, I want it to be $17 because A, B, and C. My recommendation would be to take $10 off of that. And
Started at what price? What was the price you say started?
I would start crazy low. I would start at $6.95. I would roll it to $9.9.
$6.95.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's a special offer.
Yeah.
It's not a reasonable offer. It's a special offer. And a special offer means it should be discounted way below what you think and where your, not, this is not to you, but where your pride says it should be. You go, well, damn it. It's more valuable than $6.95. There's no question about that, man. That's not what's in question. What you're trying to do is to generate people, traffic, leads, buyers, sales, the whole thing. And the easiest way to do that is to give them something of value that solves a problem that is at a price where they don't have to sit and think for very long,
$6.95 to $9.95 with what was it, 7 with going up every 7 sales?
Oh, that's too much. No, that because I don't think you're going to hit that. If you were to do think about it this way.
Sure.
100 sales at a penny a piece is $1, right? So 300 sales at a penny a piece is well,
I don't want to do the math.
From $6.95 to $9.95, if you do 3, like you bump it every 3 sales, that's 900 sales. That'll get you close enough.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So I should bump it a penny every 3 sales? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah, and so obviously, if you bumped it a penny every 4 sales, that'd be $1,200 because there's a difference between $6.95 and $9.95. You have a $3 difference there. You can keep rolling it, but I'm telling you, every time, you could start it at $6.95, but you don't start something at $6.95 and roll it to $17 because then people at $17, if you have it in your sales copy that this started at $6.95, they're going to feel like they're getting screwed. But a $3 difference is pretty minor. But I've seen it consistently when it comes to information. When you start there, when it tops over $10, people start getting a little bit.
After 10, it's a big difference between that $9.99 and that 10 is going to be a big.
Right, and it's just this marketplace. Obviously, if you're doing the same thing and it was out in the open and it was not in the forums or anything like that, you weren't trying to pull from forum traffic. You could price it differently, but if you're pricing, I know the people that you're talking to and you're communicating with, that's these forum buyers, they expect a little bit less. You could price it higher. You could price it at $17, but you're going to need to stack the value more there. So you would need to bring more stuff in. You would need to say, hey, we're going to have, here's this thing, but here's what else you're going to get. We're going to do a bonus webinar. I'm bringing Bill and somebody else, and we're going to do this freaking badass, panel discussion. You know what I mean? You have to stack the value up and make it feel more. But just by giving a PDF at $17 is going to be slow.
You're right. And really I feel that. I feel that too.
Yeah. So and then you price your OTO. I would start it at 17.
Would you dime sell the OTO as well?
Yeah.
17 to 27?
Yeah.
17
yeah,
to 27.
and there I dime sell it. I calculate it for 500 sales. So in that case, it's like a 2 cents a sale or something.
2 cents a sale.
I've got to I've created an Excel spreadsheet that helps me to figure all this stuff out. Yeah,
I might need that.
But again, I'll let you have it. But again, when the price is moving, people are more responsive.
Yeah.
They just are. It doesn't matter what the numbers are. They just are. So yeah, that's very, very standard for me is, because information is different than all that software. Yeah. So Mark Thompson, is selling software, and then he's selling kind of higher ticket OTO stuff where it's like, now, hey, get in our boot camp, for $47, right? So he can do those kind of things differently. Obviously, when you start at, whatever your first price is, you don't want to go too far over, right? Like you
Sure.
don't want the next step to be so insurmountable, like that people are like, oh my gosh, is this really, really going to be worth it? Because they're not going to make their decision based upon the guarantee. They're going to make their decision based upon a perception of how much your information is going to help them, or at the very least, how entertaining it might be.
Quick question.
Um, yeah,
Warrior Special? No, what is it? Yeah, Warrior Plus or JV Zoo?
I've done both, and frankly, I'm kind of there's there's four components in my opinion that we have in this existing marketplace. There's really five. There's the Warrior Forum, and there's as a place to host your offer. There's Forum Special Offer, FSO. That's a place to host your offer. And then you can also self-host it. But if you're just starting off and you're doing in the IM space, I definitely recommend not starting at a self-hosting environment because the social proof can be pretty powerful. What I'm doing right now, the launch that I've just done, and so this is speaking very candidly, the launch that I just did, I launched it in the Warrior Forum. I ran out these numbers that I'm talking about, very similar to this. I did it on Warrior Plus, and I'm about to close that thread down. And then what I'm going to do is regroup, restructure my funnel based upon some information that I've got from some feedback I'm getting from my current customers, some extra stuff that I already had in place. And then what I'm going to do is take it into a self-hosted environment, take it over to JV Zoo, and restructure the whole thing. So my funnel is going to look different. The front end is going to look different. The back end is going to look different. And I'm bumping the whole thing up into a higher price range and make it feel a little bit more evergreen. And so basically I'm combining these other elements. Whether or not it's like, it's a trick question. I love both of I love everybody associated with them, and I owe them all a lot of money, if you will. And they've made a lot of money off me. So I don't know if there's a right answer. I feel like these days the tide is swinging toward JV Zoo, and it took them a while to get there. But they've innovated in a lot of ways. I would say, personally speaking, I find that Warrior Plus is still easier. There's just less moving parts. But in some ways, JV Zoo's moving parts are cooler. Like you can literally create sales funnels over there and tag everything together. It's got a one-click.
They've got more bells and whistles.
Yeah, but right, exactly. But with that comes additional complexity, and then ultimately JV Zoo is really beneficial because it can, they've structured their buttons can go just about anywhere. So you could self-host it outside of the forums without a problem. You can host it inside of FSO. I've also done it bringing up FSO. I've launched in the Warrior Forum with JV Zoo, with Warrior Plus. Closed those, regrouped a few months later, come back, open it up over at Forum Special Offer with JV Zoo. Now, all I want to do in these cases is make sure that I'm not screwing prior clients, or customers. So I have to be conscious of my price range. I still think that whatever I'm selling it for is always underpriced for the value. The way I feel about my own stuff. So in that case, FSO is not a Warrior Special Offer. They want to think they are, and it's a little bit of a gimmick. It's just another forum where you do this stuff, and it's the social proof setting, but it's not the official WSO. So, I don't feel like I've got to offer the same insanely killer deal over there. But my point is, and I was thinking about this before our call, there's a way that you can actually kind of ride your products from the Warrior Forum and Warrior Plus, and hopefully get some sales over there, and then wrap it up. And you can close the thread. You can put a waiting list link on there that takes people into your autoresponder and get them in holding. You can restructure a couple of weeks later, maybe grab some more bonuses. You know what I mean? And then you can relaunch it again. I mean, I think it's crazy to think that you should just launch something, because I've done it. You don't just launch. You don't do all that work to create something and then put it out there for 1 week and then close it and never sell it again. I've
I
made
think Alex Jeffries has launched the money trigger countless times. I always see it being coming up over and over again.
He has a very strong story, and he is very good at innovating different angles on that story, and yeah, so right, so Alex does a great job of being able to add components, update, keep fresh a core
Yeah.
idea. And yes, and it works for him, and his is all lead generation into his monthly membership. So,
So
um, go
so
ahead.
Bill, do you think if I follow your advice and I bring the price down a little, quite a bit, and offer out a 75 or 100% if I maybe to people that opt into my JV list, is this something that where I could do 200, 300, 500 sales, or do you think it's gonna not do that well? Like, what's your gut instinct on this?
Haven't seen. Here's the thing.
Hmm.
You said this at the beginning. This is not the first time people have talked about WSOs, and it's not exactly even the first time that people have interviewed for WSOs
Sure.
in this setting. So you have to have some unique things that you're doing, and I think that what's interesting, and frankly, an angle that I might take in writing sales copy
Mm-hmm.
is a little bit the acknowledgement of those things, but then pressing the button that says things are different than they were a year ago. If you think that you know everything you need to know about launching in the forums and launching whatever, you're absolutely wrong. Things are radically changing. The way that people look at the forums, the type of traffic that's coming into it, the affiliates that are there, the type of products, I mean, everything. It's, I'll tell you what, man, it's different. The information, I did what a lot of people have done in 2011, which is I had a success story. And my next product was, let me tell you about my success story. And you see this, and we still see these
Yeah, yeah.
where, hey, you kick ass on your first launch, and then you go, hey, let me tell you how I made $13,000 and 83 cents in one did that, right? Because I was like, what do I do next? And I thought I did a really good job of explaining everything that I had gone through and all this kind of stuff. Dude, that content is so outdated. It's so outdated, and it's just barely 2 years old.
So
It
this
is
could be like a fresh look, like what's going on, what's like just for this really cheap price, you can get in now and just take. You can find out exactly get your finger on the pulse of what's working in launching products right now.
Yeah. And because from the product side of things, we're a lot more organized, and I think there's a lot of benefits. Frankly, in my opinion, if you're a WSO buyer, you should always be thinking about how you could be a WSO creator.
Yeah.
It blows me away when people go, "Oh, I don't want to do that. I never want to I never want to create a WSO. I don't want to be in that in that side of things. It's too competitive." I'm like, "Oh, so you don't like money?
Yeah.
Okay, terrific." So, I mean, like if you're a marketer, man. And I think that people get hung up on, I've never had success or whatever. Just create something that's useful. Just put together some content that's helpful and useful. And this content that we're talking about here should be helpful and useful, and it's up to date and it's current. So I think that as you go through and pull out all the good nuggets of all these interviews, there's secrets that you are being revealed to
Yeah.
you that the average person does not know about. And frankly, if it makes them a more discerning buyer, it's of benefit to them. So, I say all this candidly, and I've said it all repeatedly. And I've had a lot of people say, a lot of people don't say what you're saying. I don't care. I mean, like, it's as a buyer and as someone with a mom, I've got to be honest. And because if my mom was digging around in the Warrior Forum, I would want her to have as good information as possible. Not only if she ever wanted to create something,
Mhm.
but the way the damn thing works. Why it is that why they get 15 emails all within a 5 minute span, all about the same product. Well, guess what, man? They're getting paid. They're getting paid big commissions and there's all types of money and there's contests and everything like that. And 95% of those people don't even know what the product's about. They're working off of some version of swipe copy. And that's the damn reality of the situation. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean that the products aren't good and doesn't mean you shouldn't buy, but you've got to understand everyone's motivations here. And it's not to trick, it's to profit. And hopefully you're doing, when you profit, you're doing it from a place of value and, being able to sleep at night. But I mean, that's the reality of things. And so in my opinion, you know, open up the hood or, whatever kind of cliche I'm thinking of.
I like that. I like that kind of like taking a look underneath what's happening, like something about it being get your finger on the pulse, find out what's happening right now, and find out what the expert product launchers are doing right now that's working, blah, 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 secrets and all that. Is that kind of where you're going?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to, I'm free to keep talking, but one of the things people want to know about is how do you get WSO of the day? We talked about it a minute ago, and how do you get product of the day and things. And I've been in public settings where Mike Lance, who owns Warrior Plus, he's been asked that question and things like that. And ultimately, this is what goes toward generous commissions and low prices, is that they and a potential sales funnel, right? So if you have a two-part sales funnel, you're stepping into a good place, right? Because there's more money to be made. If you have generous commissions, then you're much more in a good position. And then the nice thing when it comes to with these guys is that you can offer them a commission that is different than offering out to the public. So you could say, well, I'll give Mike Lance 100% of the entire funnel, because if he names my thing product of the day or WSO of the day, then I get to hang that up there, and now suddenly I'm in this elite status and all this kind of
it's
stuff.
Like having an award. I mean, you can say it's and once you put that WSO of the day on top of your thread.
2 years ago, that felt like an Oscar. Now it's kind of like an MTV award. It's not exactly. I don't think it has the same level.
But not everyone knows that.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, I've gotten WSO of the day, I think, I don't know, like 9 times, and product of the day 2 or 3 times. So, I mean, mostly it typically happens for me. The reason why is, at this point, is I think there's a track record where they say, like, well, if I send stuff over to Bill, it's going to get taken care of. Like, it converts and everything like that. And to me, it's really about conversions, and people will argue EPCs and what's the most important metric and all this kind of stuff. In my opinion, as an affiliate who looks around, I look at conversions first. I literally, when I'm looking across products and metrics and looking down lines, I look at the conversions. If I see something front end that's converting at 20%, that stops me, and then I'll look at everything else, and then I'll go, okay, what's the price? What's the commission? And so when we have low priced offers, our conversions should be high. Right?
Makes sense.
If you something of value for $6.95 and you have clean copy that makes sense, if everything in the front end looks good for any type of traffic, it doesn't matter if you're sending list or whoever's sending it, or if it's just the first 5 people that hit the page, that you want high conversions, and those high conversions will get everyone's attention. They'll get the attention of all your affiliates. They'll get attention of Mike Lance, that they would get the attention of the guys over at JV Zoo, or Andy at DigiResults, or wherever whatever you're doing. And so that's another reason, in my opinion, to keep your prices low your first few times out, so that you can get on people's radar. It makes a lot of sense. And then because you have to have a number. You have to have something that stands out. That number could be, I'm looking down and I go, 100% commission. Like, what is it? I can do. I don't do that. I look at conversions because I want to see, if I'm going to send traffic, I want it to convert.
Of course.
Because ultimately, I truly believe that my lists are happier when I send them to something that they can purchase. I think they get pissed when I send them to something and they don't want to buy. As strange as that sounds, emotionally, they want to buy. If they didn't want to, they wouldn't click through, right? And so they want me to send them someplace that just looks right, feels like it solves a problem in their life. And so I get that first thing for me is those conversions. So that's why, again, it's why I encourage those lower prices. Um, but you can't really do anything to magically create the WSO of the day. Um, I there's been times where I feel like I've actually helped someone get WSO of the day, and it's because their offer was really right for my list. I put together a damn good email, I sent it over, and I made 75 sales for them, and
Hmm.
I bumped them into the 100 plus sales range, and it looks different. It ultimately looks different. So if you have something that says, 25% conversions, 10 plus sales, or 25% conversions, 100 plus sales, suddenly now we're in business.
Yeah,
Now,
definitely.
because I never know what you might be able to kind of manufacture on your own, but at over 100 sales sounds like something that should, get my attention. And that's why it goes back to our idea of, recruiting a couple of good affiliates. You only need a couple. You only need a couple that can bring some heat. And hopefully if they get behind you, they can move some, they can definitely move some traffic over your way. They might be able to throw in a bonus or anything like that.
So is this from what we've talked about? Like I think it's really important. Like you've said, you need to be thinking about the JVs or the affiliates. Is this something that if I put the commissions that low, is this something that you would consider promoting to your list?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, whether or not it converts, outstandingly for my list is always going to be, I mean, that's the great unknown at all times. And there's certain things where I scratch my head and I go, man, why didn't they buy? And there's other times where I'm like, oh my God, I can't send enough traffic over here to this thing. It's going
Yeah.
crazy. I'm surprised. And some of that's maybe, it's whatever else is happening on the forums or, whatever. It's the way I might have written the email, any number of things. As I said earlier, the I think everyone should be buying stuff about WSOs. I'm not saying you buy everything about WSOs,
Hmm.
but I think value in understanding how things are being sold to you and how you might have some ideas of, to create one of your own. I think it's really gratifying, and frankly, everyone should try it at least once. Um, I would absolutely promote for you. The trick there is going to be that I think it's a smaller audience. So
Hmm.
what I mean is, who's more your average Joe on the forums in all of our lists that we share? What are they more likely to buy? Something about, hey, how to fix your SEO on your website, or how to create a WSO. My opinion, it's going to be about SEO. It's going to be about something that's traffic related because everybody has that problem. So
It's a
anything.
general problem. Anything about traffic or whatever, everyone's gonna want it.
So if I was to look at my list and say, 90% of my list really, really worries about traffic and they're always looking for every new gimmick about traffic, then, that's going to sell better. If I was looking at my list and say, what percentage of them want to do WSOs? It's a smaller list. I would still send to everybody. So I would absolutely promote you, man, especially if it's something of value. And I know the other players that you're talking to, or at least some of them. So I'm sure they're giving some good information. And then ultimately, once but I would say, let me look at it
Of
before we.
course, of course.
And yeah, I think it's great. And again, I would encourage you to really take an angle that's and because this is what I would hope if I'm writing my email, it's everything you always want to know about WSOs but are afraid to ask. I mean, it's
Hmm.
that kind of mission. And because I personally speak to my list like that. I'm becoming a little bit jaded with the number of crappy WSOs that are out there, or the radically elongated sales funnels, or the way where I feel like people are literally trying to just stick a hose up to the funnel, the forums or whatever, and just suck money out and not return value. And I've started speaking to my list a little bit more candidly about those kind of things. And in doing so, I'm a little bit more discerning. So if there's a product that can help me to articulate that, as well as give people a blueprint for launching their own, that's of great value. And I
So maybe not a how-to of doing WSOs. Maybe what this is going to be is a is really a curiosity buy. I need to know this information so that I'm not getting ripped off. I need to know what's happening right now so that I'm not missing out on something. Could that be an angle?
Well, you don't want to do. I mean, obviously, you don't want to be have too many angles, like in the whole thing. And I'm not sure that you're ready to be. I mean, you could be, and frankly, you might be able to be the consumer report. That kind of, hey, no BS, hardcore look behind the scenes investigative reporting. If you want to take that banner, I mean, you I'm going to tell you stuff that maybe other guys aren't. So I don't want to spin your head in a particular way. Um, it just depends. I mean, the great challenge for everyone, in my opinion, is not paying for the Warrior Plus button and figuring out how to get that stuff all together. It is not easy the first time out, and you need some type of guide that'll help.
But there's plenty of those out there, though.
There's logistical issues, but a video is really helpful, and really clear screenshots. And frankly, if it's a year old, it's too old.
Yeah.
Like, there's things change, and I mean, there's all kinds of different stuff, and you start to integrate things like security, like membership sites. I mean, it can get really convoluted. So that there's value in that thing. The challenge for people is always going to be, what am I going to launch?
Yeah.
It's really going to be what do I have of value, and it's getting past a lot of that self-doubt. So with that in mind, I would definitely look at it to say, 10 warriors, or pull back the curtain and not only tell you their best advice on pricing, commissions, JV recruitment, or whatever, but you're going to get the hardcore facts about really what's happening in the special forum landscape these days, so that be a smarter. I mean, like, those are kind of like some headline ideas and self.
I'm gonna send everything. I'm gonna send it over to you. If you, I'm sure when I send it, I'll send a sales page over for you to tear apart and be like, Mike, this isn't what we talked about. What the hell are you doing here? Mike, I want that from you. I want that.
Well, yeah, I'm happy to do it. I can give you my mailing address. I can, I work really well with Jack Daniels on the rocks.
I'll send you over a bottle.
Yeah. So, again, I think that, and it goes to what we said at the very beginning. And with anytime you're going to release a product, you've got to obviously identify who your market is. But what's the problem? And if the problem that you discern is people don't know how to launch WSOs today and they need to know, then obviously everything in your product needs to aim toward that. If the problem is, or an additional problem is, there's so many launches, so many things coming at you, who do you trust? What's happening? I'm not sure that's quite as sexy, but it's. I think that you're probably getting some of that content.
Yeah.
If you read the other side of everything that probably these people that you're interviewing are saying, we're telling you how we manipulate the public.
Yeah. Sure.
Right? I'm manipulating people to buy my stuff by my pricing. I'm manipulating affiliates to promote me by my commissions. Yeah. Manipulating more money into my own pockets through sales funnels in the pockets of my affiliates. Does that make me bad? I hope not. Yeah. It makes me a smart marketer. And at the end of the day, this kind of information should be what everyone's using, regardless of whatever market they're selling into. This is what makes people successful in marketing. So, I don't think it's dirty. And I try to speak to people on my list as marketers, not as, you know what I mean? Like, I want them to know what I know. So there may be some value in presenting this information that way.
Cool. Bill, thank you so much. Really, I truly appreciate you taking time to do this today. You've definitely changed the product today, and we're gonna see how it goes. If people want to find you, where can they reach you at? You mentioned your launch platform. Where can they reach you?
If you want to know what's happening in launches coming up, so as you circle that date on your calendar, or you want to see what's launching, and you want to get behind the scenes of launches, we have a calendar that I run with my friend Jason Keith, and it's called simply jvlaunchcalendar.com, and you can go there. You can list all your launches for free. Also, find me on Facebook. I'm there a lot. I'm not going to give anyone my Skype address, but you can find me on Facebook, and it's facebook.com/the Bill Guthrie, and send me a private message or something like that, and I'll get you into my JV Facebook group as well. I think, Mike, you're in there,
Yep.
and notable people are in there, so it's a great place to say hi and get to know people and know what's going on. So that's the best way to find me.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, Mike, take care.